Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Learning, your place for learning English through real, meaningful conversations about the world around us. I'm Emma.
And I'm Liam. Hey everyone. Today we're talking about something that made big news around the world. Pakistan recently brought Iran and the United States together for peace talks. Yes, you heard that right. Pakistan played the role of a mediator between two countries that have been enemies for decades.
That's right. And here's the thing these talks didn't end with a final peace agreement, but does that mean they failed? Not necessarily. Today, we'll explore what actually happened, what both sides wanted, and why Pakistan got involved in the first place.
And of course, we'll learn useful English vocabulary along the way, words like mediator, ceasefire, sanctions, and more. Plus, we'll talk about the human side of this story.
So grab your coffee or tea and let's dive in. And if you enjoy learning English through real news, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. Your support helps us keep making content for you.
Let's start with the basics. Emma, what exactly happened?
So here's the short version. For several weeks, the United States and Iran were in a military conflict. Thousands of people died. Then Pakistan stepped in and helped arrange a 2-week ceasefire, a pause in the fighting.
A ceasefire is when two sides agree to stop fighting for a certain period of time. It's like pressing the pause button on a war.
Exactly. And then Pakistan invited both countries to its capital, Islamabad, for face-to-face peace talks. This was a huge deal because the US and Iran haven't had direct, high-level talks like this for almost 50 years.
50 years? Wow. So who actually came to these talks?
The U.S. sent a very high-level team, Vice President J.D. Vance, along with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Iran sent its parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. So very senior people on both sides.
And Pakistan? Who represented them?
Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar and Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir personally facilitated the talks, shuttling between the two delegations. The negotiations went on for nearly 24 hours, almost an entire day of non-stop talking.
24 hours of negotiations. That's intense. I get tired after a 1-hour meeting.
Same, but these were high stakes. The whole world was watching.
So let's learn some vocabulary here. Emma, can you define these words for our listeners?
Absolutely. Mediator. A person or country that helps two opposing sides communicate and find an agreement. Ceasefire. A temporary stop to fighting. High stakes. A situation where a lot can be lost or gained. Very important and risky.
And one more, facilitate, to make something easier or possible. Pakistan facilitated the talks by providing a safe place and helping both sides communicate.
Great. Now let's talk about why Pakistan was chosen as the mediator in the first place.
This is actually the most interesting part for me. Pakistan is not a superpower like the US or China, so why would Iran and the US agree to talk in Islamabad?
Great question. The answer is that Pakistan has something very rare. It has good relations with both sides.
Let me explain. Pakistan shares a 900-kilometer, about 560 miles, border with Iran. They're neighbors. Iran was actually the first country to recognize Pakistan when it became independent in 1947.
And at the same time, Pakistan has long-standing diplomatic ties with the United States. The U.S. considers Pakistan a major non-NATO ally. President Trump has even called Pakistan's army chief his favorite field marshal.
So Pakistan can talk to both sides. Iran trusts Pakistan because they're neighbors and share cultural and religious ties. The U.S. trusts Pakistan because they've been allies for decades.
Exactly. And there's another factor. Pakistan also has good relations with China and Saudi Arabia, so it sits at the center of a very wide diplomatic network.
So Pakistan didn't choose a side. It stayed friends with everyone. And that ambiguity, that not choosing sides, became valuable.
Yes, as one analyst put it, the great powers chose sides long ago. Pakistan never quite did, and that studied ambiguity turned out to be worth something.
That's a powerful sentence. Let's break down the vocabulary. Ambiguity, not being clear or fixed, having multiple possible meanings. Diplomatic ties, official relationships between countries. Ally, a friend or partner, especially in politics or military.
And here's the human value part. Sometimes not taking sides allows you to build bridges. Pakistan wasn't trying to win the conflict for anyone, it was trying to stop the fighting, and that neutrality gave it credibility.
Credibility means being trusted and believed. So what exactly were they negotiating about?
The talks revolved around several big issues. Let me list them. Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, removing economic punishments, frozen assets, billions of dollars of Iranian money stuck in foreign banks, the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway where about 1/5 of the world's oil passes through.
That's a lot. But the biggest problem was the nuclear issue. What exactly did the U.S. want?
The U.S. wanted Iran to completely give up its nuclear program, not just weapons, but even civilian nuclear energy for medicine and electricity. The U.S. called this a red line, a condition that cannot be changed.
And Iran's position?
Iran said no. They argued that they have the right to peaceful nuclear energy. They said the U.S. demand was excessive and violated international treaties. Iran's foreign ministry called on the U.S. to accept Iran's legitimate rights and interests.
So both sides had very strong positions. Neither wanted to give in.
Exactly. After nearly 24 hours of talks, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said, "This is our final and best offer." And Iran did not accept it. The talks ended without a deal.
So it failed.
Well, it depends on how you define failure. Let's talk about that.
Let's pause for vocabulary first. Emma, can you define these words for our listeners?
Absolutely. Nuclear program, a country's activities related to nuclear energy or weapons. Sanctions, economic punishments one country puts on another. Red line, a limit that cannot be crossed, a non-negotiable condition. Legitimate, reasonable and lawful, justified.
Good. Now let's talk about the human side of this failure. So if no final deal was signed, why are some people calling this a success?
Because a ceasefire happened. Before Pakistan got involved, the U.S. and Iran were actively at war. Thousands had already died. The fighting could have gotten much worse.
What was the alternative?
The Strait of Hormuz was almost closed completely. If that had happened, global oil prices would have skyrocketed. Economies around the world would have suffered. Pakistan stepped in and stopped that from happening, at least temporarily.
So Pakistan bought time. They created a pause, a window for more diplomacy.
Yes, and Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar said something important. It is imperative that both sides continue their commitment to a ceasefire. He's saying, keep talking, don't start fighting again.
So success isn't always about winning. Sometimes success is preventing things from getting worse.
Exactly. And here's the human value. Patience. Diplomacy is slow. Real peace doesn't happen overnight. It takes multiple rounds of talks, sometimes over years.
Let me give our listeners an analogy. Imagine you and your neighbor are fighting over a fence. A mediator comes and says, "Stop fighting for 2 weeks. Let's talk." That's the first step. Even if you don't fix everything in one conversation, you've stopped the fighting. That's progress.
Beautiful analogy. And let's not forget, both the U.S. and Iran publicly thanked Pakistan for its efforts. That's a sign of respect, even without a final agreement.
Now, let's be honest. There were also criticisms. Some people said Pakistan failed because it couldn't bridge the nuclear divide, and that's true. The biggest issues remain unresolved.
But here's the key lesson from the story. Peace is a process, not a single event. Pakistan showed the world that dialogue is always better than violence, and that's a human value worth remembering.
Diplomacy, the practice of managing relationships between countries through peaceful negotiation. De-escalation, reducing the intensity of a conflict. Stalemate, a situation where no progress can be made.
Liam, let's get real for a minute. Behind all these political talks, there are real people.
Absolutely. Thousands of people have died in this conflict. Families have been torn apart. Children have lost their parents. Homes have been destroyed.
I read a story about a mother in Tehran whose son was killed in a bombing. She said, I don't care about politics. I just want my son back, and I don't want any other mother to feel this pain.
That's heartbreaking. And there's a mother in Israel who said almost the same thing. War hurts everyone, no matter which side you're on.
That's the human truth, and that's why Pakistan's mediation matters, not because of politics, but because every ceasefire saves lives. Even a temporary pause means fewer people die.
So what happens next? The ceasefire is fragile, it could break at any time, but Pakistan has said it will continue to mediate. More talks are possible.
And here's our message to you, our English learners. The world can feel scary sometimes, but stories like this remind us that dialogue is possible. Even enemies can sit in the same room and talk.
Let's say that together for practice. Dialogue is always better than violence.
Dialogue is always better than violence. Beautiful. Now, let's end with a final vocabulary review.
Mediation, helping two sides find an agreement. Ceasefire, a temporary stop to fighting. Sanctions, economic penalties. Nuclear program, a country's nuclear activities. Diplomacy, peaceful negotiation between countries. De-escalation, making a conflict less intense.
Well, Liam, we covered a complex topic today in simple English. I'm proud of us.
Me too, and thank you listeners for staying with us. Learning English through real news is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary and understanding of the world.
Here's our question for you in the comments. Do you think Pakistan's mediation was a success or a failure? Why?
Write your answer in English. We'll read your comments and feature some in our next episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who's learning English.
Remember, peace is a process. Learning English is also a process. Be patient with yourself and keep going.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye-bye.
Bye.